Logos features a number of interactive media resources that can enhance our study of Scripture. Today, we are going to examine how one of these can be useful, look at the different collections of Proverbs, and learn how to search for verbs by sense in a collection of Proverbs. So the Proverbs Explorer tool is found under Tools, and then on the far right, Proverbs Explorer. If you don't see it there, if you click on All Interactive Resources, it'll be there. And when we click on it, it opens. It'll take it a second. It's got to think quite a bit. And I want to make it big for the purposes of this video. So like most resources, we've got this left panel. And if you click on the double arrow there, you can make it bigger or smaller, or you can remove it or add it. You can also make the text bigger if you want. On the left here, we can see things like the type of proverb or the form, or we can see the people, so we can search for proverbs about wicked persons or righteous persons, and we can see themes. If you click on more, there's a lot of themes here as we go down. And if you click on any of these, so if I'm going to come back to the top, if I want to look at similar parallel proverbs, if I click on it, it will put all of those together, and I can scroll down and see. The segmentation and classification here, if I want to get rid of that, I can click on that and then I go back. So these are, all the proverbs here are segmented in certain ways. So we see Proverbs 1 through 7. If we scroll over, we can read all of them. The Proverbs Explorer tool sees those as all a unit, and so it's going to classify them together as it works. The same with 8 through 19. And so this can be useful as you're going, because it can kind of show you how the Proverbs Explorer, how they put it together, how they see the different units and segmentations of Proverbs. Unfortunately, we find this tool to be lacking. It feels a little bit incomplete because you can't search by verse. So if I want to know information about Proverbs 1, 8 through 19, if I click on it, it just opens the ESV. It doesn't tell me any of the categories over here or any of that information. If I wanted to figure that out, I'd have to, no, it's not there. I'd have to just click around until I found it. And so there are some usefulnesses or useful ways we can use this tool, but we actually, as we're showing you this, we don't think this is the tool you should be using. There's another thing missing, and that's collections. The Proverbs Explorer tool does not have collections, but we believe that there are 7 different collections that were compiled into Proverbs to become one book. So the book of Proverbs is the 7 collections. And evidence of this, if you look at Proverbs 25:1, which I'll open up right now, spell it right, and hit enter. These also are Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied. And so it seems like these were compiled by someone else, and then whoever compiled the final book of Proverbs saw these and said, I want to use that collection in the book of Proverbs as they put it all together. So the Proverbs Explorer tool can help you in some ways, but we think there are better ways, and we're going to show you some of those. And so I'm going to open up a new search window, and we're going to build the Proverbs collections. And I've shown you how to do this before, where we've made different range collections, reference ranges. For this, we're going to do the Proverbs collections, and I'd encourage you to just go ahead and make all 7 of these right now. I'm just going to do the first one, and if you look in the notes, you can see all of them there. But so I want to do Proverbs 1 through 9, And then I want to call this Proverbs Collection 1. And then I'll hit save. And so now that's there. And I'm going to make Proverbs Collection 5 because that's where we will be looking, which is Proverbs 25 through 29. And then I'll hit save. And so now I have that as one of my reference ranges. Now, with these reference ranges, we can start to try and see what the different collections are focused on. One place that we can do this is we can look at the different verb senses in each. And so I'm going to do a Bible search, and I'm going to do it in Proverbs Collection 5, which I've just created. And then I want to make sure I'm in ESV. I actually want to do a morph search, but I want to make sure I'm in ESV with Hebrew. And again, I apologize for that. We want to make sure we are in Proverbs Collection 5. And now we're just going to do @v, which we've done before, and that shows us all the verbs, and then hit enter. And normally you'll probably be in the verses tab, but for this one we're going to be in the analysis tab. So I'll erase that, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. So when we come in here, this now has 321 results in 127 verses. So those are all of the verbs in the Hebrew text in Proverbs Collection 5, which is chapters 25 through 29. Now I can click on reference, and I can put these in order. I can see the result, which is the Hebrew word, how it's translated in the English. I can see what comes next. I can see what comes before. Those are in the wrong order. So if I click and drag, I can actually do that. There's all kinds of things you can do. This is very dynamic. You can put things however you want them. The thing we're going to look at today is we're going to look at the sense option. So if I click on sense, I can organize things alphabetically by sense. And so we see here abandon, 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 and then I can make this larger. We see all these different verbs that are used. And as we look down, we can do this, but we can examine this where on a closer level, we can set this boundary even closer. And so if I'm looking at sense, on a PC, if you click and drag on sense, you can drag it up to where it says option, or it says click a column header and drag here to group by it. On a Mac, you have to hold down option and then click, and you'll see on both, you'll see that little plus sign if you're in the right place. And then if you let go, now we can group by the sense. And then we see these drop-down menus. If you right-click on any of them, you can do collapse all. And so now, give me 1 second. If I collapse all, now I can see them in order by which verbs are used the most and work down. Now on its own, this won't give me a whole lot of information, but I can see to understand with a cognitive sense occurs quite a few times, and I can even see it looks like it occurs 5 times in a really small area in Proverbs 28. And so I might look there to start making observations. So on why is that so prevalent there and prevalent later on, but it's not in the first half of the collection. But with this, you can start to make these observations. We can start to see, we might see themes of types of verses or verbs used in the verses. We might start to examine something. We might see through this, we might see whenever we see a certain verb, we might see it's associated with the righteous, or it's associated with the wicked, or it's associated with a social status. So this kind of helps us to see things on kind of the big picture, so that when we go in and start looking closely, we can say, oh, that to understand that occurs a bunch of times. It's not just here. And so that's how this can be useful for us, and it helps us have better boundaries as we're observing the text.